on in. Sit back and relax. You're listening to episode 236 of the WealthTech Today podcast. And I'm your host, Craig Iskowitz, founder of Ezra Group Consulting. And this podcast features news, information, updates, and analysis all around wealth management technology. And this is our April news roundup. Welcome. We've got a lot to cover here. But before we do so, let me just give you a quick word about RIA tech stacks. Now, at Ezra Group, we've seen tech stacks of hundreds of RIAs. And let me tell you, most of them are loaded down with tech debt. So you shouldn't feel too bad about yours. But let's face it, tech debt is like a giant anchor holding back your business growth. If you want to free your firm for exponential growth, you should run, not walk, to our website, ezragroup.com, and fill out the Contact Us form. Our experienced team can evaluate your current tech ecosystem, deliver targeted recommendations, optimize your existing systems and operations, or run an RFP and help you implement new software to take your firm to the next level. You can take advantage of our free consultation offer by going to ezragroup.com. We've got a lot to cover here. We're covering breaking news on InvestNet. We've got a partnership with Precise FP and FP Alpha. We've got a new segment where we're talking about RIA changes going on in executives at different RIAs. And then we're doing a little bit of broker-dealer changes. We're talking about some advisor surveys from Broadridge. New retirement raised $20 million. And of course, wrapping up with the Advisor Tech Map and integration scoring. A few quick housekeeping items that we always do before the interview. Please subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss an episode. Check out investinothers.org. That's the Invest in Others Charitable Foundation. They do a lot of good work in our industry, raising money to donate to charities that are either run by or helped by financial advisors. Okay, the first story in the news for April is Tiburon. Tiburon conference was held last week in Boston. Now, the rules of the Tiburon conference says you can't talk about anything that happens in the Tiburon conference, at least by name. But I'm just going to give a quick overview of some of the, I thought, really interesting topics that came up, a little bit of a splash. I really encourage you to sign up for Tiburon. You go to tiburonadvisors.com and you can sign up for yourself individually or for your company, and then you will get to go to these conferences as well. So a couple of cool pieces of information. Total wealth and asset management assets worldwide is 156 trillion. Sounds like a lot, but when you think globally, maybe it's not that much. In the US, the largest asset manager is Fidelity with 12 trillion. So not even 10% of the global assets are at Fidelity, but still a tremendous amount. Global wealth and investment management is growing around 2% per year, whereas U.S. wealth and investment management is growing at 3.5% a year. Now, there's some interesting breakdowns of that. For example, 50% of industry flows are going to breakaway brokers. So maybe that industry growth of 3.5% is really only half as much, because 50% of it is just assets shifting from wirehouses and broker-dealers to breakaway RIAs. And independent advisors. And speaking of independent advisors, one industry rule of thumb has always been that the independent channel is always the fastest growing. But that turns out not to be true. At least the past couple of years, it is not. Most of the growth is concentrated in the top 20 to 30 firms. And in 2023, discount brokers like Schwab and Fidelity gathered the most assets. And in 2022, it was full service brokers like Morgan Stanley or Raymond James who gathered the most assets. So not independent advisors. The discount channel and the full service channel are beating them. Also, with independent advisors, a lot of their growth is coming from referrals. 50% of independent advisors' referral growth is from custodian referrals. So they're very dependent on that. And another interesting aspect, piece of data that came out of the conference was around retirement plans. Fidelity now has 40 million 401k plans that they manage, over 2.7 trillion in assets. So that's a huge flow of assets that will soon be hopefully rolling over into IRAs at Fidelity, if they are any good at doing that. So that's a tremendous increase from their 12 trillion. If they can get even half of that, it's an extra $1 trillion onto their into their assets. Morgan Stanley tried to replicate Fidelity's strategy, but with stock plans. When they bought E-Trade, they got a stock plan manager. So they've got 6 million customers with employee stock plans, and they can then pitch them for the rollovers once the stock is purchased. So that's another way that Morgan Stanley and all the big guys the rich are getting richer here with these huge flows and these huge pipelines of assets that they have first crack at. There was a lot of so the presentations were great at Tiburon in terms of the data, and then the panels were also very good. There was a couple CEO panels, wealth and investment management firms. Again, we can't say who was there, but some interesting little tidbits that were shared that some of the CEOs believe the act of financial planning has become disconnected from investing, and that those two really need to be combined better. That we have these separate silos. You do your planning here, you do investing there, and they don't really connect very well. Some CEOs want to bring UMH, or Unified Managed Households, to every desktop, and then assign a strategic allocation for each goal. And it's well known that strategic investment allocation drives 85 to 90% of the outcomes. So linking those together would help clients reach their goals. Over the past 15 years, earnings growth has massively diverged from productivity growth. And it's a continued high likelihood of increased debt, which is going to be inflationary. All right, another panel was independent advisors and breakaway broker platforms. So this was really interesting. A bunch of RIAs, some of them part of RIA aggregators, some of them were new RIAs that were just started based on with PE backing, and they were doing a lot of acquisitions. There was also one of the major broker dealers was on the panel, so and a custodian. So an interesting mix of personalities, an interesting mix of points of view. So one interesting comment was there's an intersection of three drivers in the market, at least from this person's point of view. Clients are smarter and want more. That's number one. Number two, the role of technology is changing and is very dynamic. And three, investments have completely changed. So they were talking about that. Another comment was that this is from an RIA aggregator that's doing a lot of M&A, buying up a lot of smaller practices, that their pitch is they allow advisor entrepreneurs to maintain their autonomy. And doing so is more art than science. The old days of just buy my firm and leave me alone are over. Now, advisors who are selling to these M&A very acquisitive companies are saying, look, if you're going to buy my firm, you need to help me with my business and with my client experience. So we want a tech platform, not just compliance, legal, and admin, but we want technology, we want practice management, we really want help growing our business. And more of these RIA aggregator firms, RIA networks are doing just that. And to me, they operate more like independent broker dealers, even though they're not. But their operations, and when we work with them, we do very similar services for our IBD clients as well as our RIA aggregator clients because they operate in a very centralized fashion. Another panelist, many advisors are thinking about private equity, and some of these aggregators. Of course, there was a bit of a discussion on the panel. Some of them were pro aggregator, pro PE, and some of them were anti. So this guy was anti, saying, "Hey, when you go to an aggregator, you're being told, hey, you'll do what we tell you to do. And it's difficult with all the PE money coming into the space, it's difficult for the next generation of advisors to buy the practice. So older advisors hiring younger advisors and hoping they'll buy their practice, then they're getting flooded with PE money, and the younger advisors are basically getting outbid for these firms. And then PE comes in and they can do things that the next generation can't do. For example, combining multiple firms and then stripping out costs. If you're selling to the next generation in your own firm, you can't do that. Bigger advisor teams are saying they're concerned about PE because they want autonomy. And concerns are, what is the exit plan if you take PE money, and how will you control your business post exit? So that was an interesting panel discussion there. Next one was leading nationwide fee-based financial advisors. So these were RIAs that had gone nationwide. They were around, I think, 15 billion to 50 billion in assets on this particular panel. Again, I found it very interesting to hear their um, their positions on PE money. About half the panel was pro PE, had taken PE money, and half the panel had not taken PE money. But they were doing more partnership models um, or self-funding. So that was also, I thought, interesting, useful information just to hear their points of view. Again, we work with a lot of these firms, so I'm always interested to understand their business models, how they grow. Some firms like to acquire accounting firms and then plug in advisors to then mine those clients in the accounting side for assets. Some are more on rollovers. Some are more retirement based, where they're focusing on retirement assets and then looking to roll those over. Others are ultra high net worth. Others are pseudo multifamily office slash RIAs. Lots of different ways to skin the cats here. One comment: there's an arms race to build incremental capabilities to deliver more to clients. Um, we've seen increased client expectations, but not fee compression. We need to scale to recycle profits and to meet increasing client needs. And this particular person believes that M&A requires very expensive integrations. And we do a lot of those for our clients. So we can tell you that integrations can sometimes be very expensive. Although we do our best with some of our custom tools to reduce those costs. And finally, there was a marketing panel that I thought was pretty interesting. And there's one person who I will quote, who I know won't mind. Robert Sophia, CEO and founder of Snappy Kraken, a great digital marketing platform, had shared some stats. And one of the things, 3 points stood out from Robert's comments on the marketing panel. SEO strategy. Advisors with an SEO strategy have almost 100% performance advantage over those that don't when it comes to website traffic. And SEO outperforms social media, looks like 10 to 1, 94 to 4. Number two, text messaging for opt-ins. If you send out a text message and to opt them in to some sort of digital marketing messaging, you get a 400% performance improvement. And number three, when you're sending emails to prospective clients, include a video. Emails with videos have a 120% better click and conversion rate. And include the word video in the subject line. All right, that's my quick wrap up of my takeaways. Just a couple takeaways. I have a lot more, but I can't share everything. From the Tiburon conference last week in Boston. Again, go to tiburonadvisors.com and you can sign up for Tiburon and you can go yourself and I'll see you there. The next conference is going to be, I believe, in October or November in San Francisco. More news, more news. This is breaking news. We rarely get breaking news in this program, but here we have it. This just came out today. Maybe it was yesterday. It came out yesterday. Envestnet's shares soar on Reuters report about receiving interest for a takeover. The latest in a line of reported attempts. This story you can find on RIA Biz by my good friend Brooke Southall from yesterday. The share price of Berwyn PA investment firm, TAMP, SMA platform, software vendor, Envestnet leapt more than 20% on the news to near $65 before settling back to around 61, which was, I think, about a 5% gain. More recently, in December, Bloomberg reported a rumor that Envestnet was trying to sell off its Yodlee unit, which we've been hearing for a long time. I'm not sure that's going to happen. Or if they even could do it, considering how integrated they have made Yodlee into their infrastructure. So I'm not really sure that would even be possible, but these rumors can't be stopped. Co-founder and CEO Bill Crager first announced in January his plans to leave and officially stepped down, and he officially stepped down March 31st. Board chairman James Fox is serving as interim CEO until successor is found. Now, a couple things in this article I wanted to comment on. Because Envestnet serves lots of independent broker dealers, they can be vulnerable when there's consolidation from other broker dealers. For example, LPL recently acquired Atria and will be consolidating onto their platform, which is called ClientWorks, and I imagine onto their custodian because they're their own custodian as well. Now, LPL uses some other technology in the background, but they do a lot of, ClientWorks is their own platform, and so that they'll be moving them off of Envestnet. So Envestnet will lose that business. But one thing they're missing in this article is it also works in the other direction. That Envestnet, because Envestnet has such a big market share, they've got most of the biggest broker dealers, including Cetera, and Osaic, for example. So Osaic has been very acquisitive. They acquired Lincoln Wealth, right? Lincoln Financial in December of last year, 1,400 advisors. They bought an IBD called American Portfolios in June 2022, 850 advisors, and they acquired Ladenburg Thalmann in February 2020. So all of those broker dealers then move on to the InvestNet platform because Osaic is a big InvestNet client. So yeah, sure, they do lose some when their clients get acquired, but it works the other way too. And I think based on their market share, they get more in their favor than out of their favor. Now, this isn't the first time InvestNet shares have popped. They also popped up in February, which is just 2 months ago, when after their investment statement came out and they did their an analyst call. They got a vote of confidence from some firms, including, surprise, surprise, LPL Financial. LPL grew their position in the third quarter of shares of Envestnet by 8%, according to Market Screener. So LPL now owns 23,000 shares of Envestnet, valued at $1 million. So this big pop, no one's happier than LPL than Envestnet stock is popping, right? But going back to the executives besides Bill Crager, CEO and one of the founders leaving, they have seen a string of other executives going again, which is not unusual for publicly traded companies. They've been around a while. You do see executives come and go, although there has been a rash of them. So recently, after Bill before Bill announced he was leaving, their CFO. Pete DeArigo left, and President Stuart DePina left in June 2022. I thought that was a big loss. Stuart was a great executive leader. He was one of the founders of Tamarack, which Envestnet acquired in 2012. And I would have expected Stuart to have been in line for CEO. So I was sorry to see him leave. I thought that was a loss for Envestnet. And recent losses include Tony Leal. He was one of the founders of Money Guide. Came in that acquisition, and he had just been promoted to head of Envestnet's WealthTech Group. In June 2022, they restructured into three groups: Envestnet Solutions, which is the investment arm led by co-CIO Dana D'Aria. Number two, Envestnet Data and Analytics, led by Farouk Ferchichi, and then everything else what was under Envestnet WealthTech, which was run by Tony Leal, and then he left in January of 2023 last year. And then they turned the bulk of that over to Rose Palazzo, who came to Envestnet in 2021 from Morgan Stanley. And she was running Money Guide and then taking over the Envestnet WealthTech business. And then she just announced last month that she was leaving. Kevin Hughes, Money Guide's chief growth officer, left in January, who I'm missing. And of course, my good friend Danny Fava just announced she was leaving, and she resurfaced very quickly at Carson Group as their chief strategy officer, which we are covering in the later segment about Carson Group. So a lot going on in Envestnet. Interesting to see who, if these acquisition rumors this time will come through, or if it's just another rumor. All right, next up, FP Alpha and Precise FP unveil new technology partnership. Now, this is an interesting story in the RIA world, and to help me and talk about this story is our special guest, Kristen Schmidt, CEO of RIA Oasis. Hey, Kristen.
Hi.
I'm so glad you could be here again. You're becoming like a regular feature of the news.
No, I appreciate the opportunity. Anything tech, I'll talk about it.
I know you will. All right, so let's talk about this. So FP Alpha is a provider of a couple different products. One is they started with estate planning, which they call their AI assisted estate planning, which is really OCR. They're scanning in documents and then parsing the data and plugging it into the estate plans. And they've got a decent estate planning tool, which I like a lot. Then they launched tax management, which was a similar product to what Holistoplan is doing, where you're scanning in 1040s and then giving basic tax advice. So they've got a lot of interesting things going. But this announcement was, I thought, unexpected, where they are partnering with DocuPace, who owns Precise FP, and to help them with data gathering and moving data from different systems into their product. So, what do you think of this news?
Yeah, I was surprised to see it as well, although I think this is actually a trend we might see more of, and I was glad to see FP Alpha jump into the ring first. So let's break it down. DocuPace owns Precise FP, as you said, and Precise FP is holding the golden ticket, in my opinion, in the data gathering and data collection space of our tech stacks. There's not a lot else out there that's competing for gathering data. They are also winning the race on their amazing quality and quantity of integration partners. So when you integrate with Precise FP, data can flow to third-party systems. For example, I would like to have my Redtail data land in eMoney. I would like to do a survey of my clients or my new onboarding of my clients, gather their information, have some of the information go into Wealthbox and some of the information go into MoneyGuide. So it's a wonderful octopus of where data can go. So FP Alpha is utilizing that piece of technology and partnership with Precise FP, not only so that data can filter into Precise FP, but it allows that FP Alpha data could go to other systems.
It's a little
Example.
known feature of Precise FP that they have these integrations and can move data almost like a data bus from one application to another. And I think talking to the DocuPace people this morning about it, they said specifically FP Alpha is looking for to be able to move data from Precise FP into their own application for estate planning, as well as get access to data from MoneyGuide or eMoney, which are notoriously difficult to build APIs to, just not because their APIs are bad, they're very good. Just they're so busy, they're so swamped with everyone wants to be on their APIs. It's tough to get their time to get access to it. So
It is.
Precise FP already has that, so we're sort of piggybacking on that capability.
You're absolutely right. And a lot of those APIs are very standardized. And what Precise FP also offers is that if you are sending a survey or a data collection to somebody, that you can create custom fields. It also maps to custom fields in other systems like CRMs. So it has a lot of flexibility. You're absolutely right. The best part, in my opinion, about Precise FP is that you can have one piece of data go to multiple systems.
Hmm.
So bringing FP Alpha into the mix and saying, we've collected some great information in regards to tax, in regards to estate and other profile information. And now I want to see that data or use it in my financial planning tools or my specialized planning tools. It's a huge win.
Indeed, the some of the things I like about FP Alpha's platform on their tax and estate planning is their what they call the tax planning intake, which is their uploading of 1040 schedules 1, 2, 3, CD, etc. Their tax planning snapshot, where you can view tax information in a dashboard, which I thought was a cool looking dashboard. Um, and their estate snapshot and their newly released what they're calling Estate Lab 2, 2.0, which is modeling, integrates with MoneyGuide. It's going to integrate with Orion, and it can pull account values and creates a full picture when combined with the legal docs of a client's estate. So now they'll be able to, through this Precise FP partnership, pull data from MoneyGuide or eMoney or other applications into their estate planning tool.
Agreed. I completely agree with you. I think a couple other things that I think about when thinking about the independent RIA and their tech stacks, FP Alpha is one of many what I call specialized tools. I might use it when I need it, but when I need it, I really need it. That also means I might need a
Then a
money
song,
guide to write.
when I need you,
When
I really
I-
need you.
Yeah,
Right.
it doesn't mean that it replaces my eMoney, Right Capital, Money Guide subscriptions. It doesn't mean I don't need Asset Map. It doesn't mean that I don't need other things, but it does make things complicated. You mentioned a couple things. I agree with you that the snapshots are now what's gravitating advisors to tech. It takes us back to that old chat about one-page plans, but it's
Mhm.
how can we have simplicity to explain things and have data and share it with clients. Secondly, I think what's not talked about enough, the financial planning tools, those big three,
Mhm.
they do not do heavy work in the estate space. And so FP Alpha is really bringing in a key element that's heavily missing within the eMoney's Right Capital Money Guide pros of the world.
But
Some
wait a
of
minute. But what about, but eMoney's got estate planning.
they have it's a small space compared to what FP Alpha has. Also on Money Guide Pro, they also have some, but you have to have the right subscription. And remember that if
Well,
you're not
sure. They're going to
subscribing to the
charge you
right
for that.
people,
They've got the stuff from Edmund Walters' company, right? That they acquired.
Mhm.
Right. So that's a full estate planning suite. You don't think so?
Well, I think there's a difference in collecting information about an estate and actually generating an estate plan
Mhm.
and what that means to a firm.
Mhm.
There are many firms who collect data saying, do you have one? When's the last time it was updated? Let me document and have a copy of the estate plan en route. And what is the summary of that plan, similar to the one page or a snapshot? And then there are tools like FP Alpha that actually generate the plan for you.
Mhm.
Many of these systems have that as a section of their financial planning, but it is not as robust. And I think that FP Alpha is sneaking into that space while also doing, as you mentioned, some similar things to Holisticplan.
Another area that is going to be interesting and something we have to work out at Ezra Group is we have our Ezra Group Wealth Tech Integration Score, where we evaluate the integration capabilities of every vendor in our space, all over 490 applications that you can find on the Keatsis Ezra Group Advisor Tech map. And in this case, FP Alpha has a score of 3.89, which, while the product is fantastic, the integration score is a little low for my liking. I like to see them get above a 6, but Precise FP is very strong, almost a 9, 8.54. Very, very strong score. Now, with this partnership where FP Alpha can piggyback on Precise FP's integrations, do we give FP Alpha the benefit of having those integrations and increase their score?
It's a great question. And if you do it for one, you must do it for all. So then
Mhm.
how do all the other scores fluctuate or change? Because they too have the opportunity to utilize Precise FP as a
Mhm.
middleman connection, if you
Mhm.
will. Ironically, the industry is really starting to grab onto Zapier, if you're familiar with creating zaps, and they consider
Mhm.
themselves an auto triggering tool, not only in our industry, actually very light in our industry compared to other industries.
Mhm.
And I love it. It's amazing. Precise FP could actually be used in that same capacity, like we're talking about, which I think
Mhm.
is really interesting because you can take data received from one system and then suddenly send it to
Mhm.
that third system.
Do you need Zapier to
Yeah,
do
I
that?
think I'm sorry.
Do you need Zapier to do that, or can't you do it from inside Precise FP?
With Zapier, you have to have a trigger to make things happen.
Right.
And with Precise FP, it's once it's received, the data can automatically be sent. So
But
they're
if
a
I
little
combine the two, if I combine Zapier and Precise FP, what's my benefit?
um things you do in your system would trigger data collection or data being sent or received versus standalone without Zapier.
Mhm.
You are collecting data from somebody and it's immediately being sent through to the other party. So if you had a reason to need data immediately, or I'll give you an example. If the status in a CRM changes from prospect to client, I want this to happen.
Mhm.
That is where a Zapier can help you
Mhm.
between systems to do things. Triggering workflows in other systems or sending a survey automatically, sending an email automatically, doing things like that. So to answer your question about your uh, scoring conundrum,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
I think it's a really interesting piece. And you might even need to create a separate category, I hate to say it, of
No, don't say that.
I know, and which means another calculation. But I do think that there's a combination of things. Let me throw another wrench in it for you. There are some legacy systems that have been around for ages, the Orions, the eMoneys, the Money Guides of the world. They really have been able to hold on to some amazing integrations and partnerships before all the buyouts and changes happened.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, the trifecta I just mentioned, Orion, Money Guide Pro, and eMoney. Money Guide Pro for financial planning, eMoney for client portal. The Money Guide Pro plans sync to the eMoney portal. All the data syncs into eMoney.
Mm-hmm.
Orion reports, quarterly statements, all sync into the eMoney portal and are shared. So I think that there are different pieces that the technology already displays and does, but does that combo deserve a score and an acknowledgement where standalone, they might not be as powerful?
Well, yeah, we do score that. I mean, we score Money Guide Pro's eMoney integrations. But my point is that the integration, we care about the integrations as they are available to the clients, to advisors, to wealth managers, to broker dealers, to RIAs. So to an RIA, after this partnership is implemented, if they are an FP Alpha client, to them, they now have integrations to Money Guide Pro, eMoney, Right Capital, whatever other tools Precise FP has, because they've signed this partnership. So I mean, I have to talk to our team. We have a team of people who handle the integration scores here at Ezra Group, but I'm going to pitch them on increasing FP Alpha scores with whatever applications Precise FP makes available to them, because they in effect have that integration, whether they built it or not.
Agreed. Just challenging on the fact that there have been companies like the Orions, the Black Diamonds, the Money Guides, the Right Capitals of the world, but there have been companies that have been working with Precise FP for years and years and years and built amazing APIs and customizations to their data sharing where that's existed already for them. You can pull money in or pull data in from, let's say, your CRMs. Okay, that's been around for years and years, and then share that data with Money Guide Pro and Orion. What I'm saying is what FP Alpha is doing now is nothing new. All of the Precise FP vendors, they have been doing it, but FP Alpha is definitely getting on the train so that it actually helps the vendor, not just the advisor. The vendor doesn't have to build all those independent APIs either, right? So it's a helpful hint. Yeah,
it certainly is. All right. So anyone listening, if you want more information about Precise FP, you can go to Precise FP, that's financial, F as in financial, P as in planning, precisefp.com, or you can go to FP to learn more about FP Alpha. You can go to fpalpha.com. Cool. Thanks, Kristen.
Absolutely.
Next up on the news, we're going into, this is a broker dealer / wealth tech news story. Combines the best of both worlds. LPL's head of wealth management departs. Rob Petman is leaving LPL after 19 years and joining, drumroll please, Tiffin as Chief Revenue Officer and President to accelerate growth across their wealth portfolio. So what is Tiffin? According to their website, it's an AI and innovation platform for better wealth outcomes. I see them more as sort of a holding company, pseudo incubator / accelerator / tech firm that does a little bit of all those things. They have a portfolio, what they call of holdings. So it seems very similar to a holding company or an investment firm or an accelerator. They sold one of their companies called 55IP to JP Morgan a few years ago. And 55IP was sort of a TAMP outsourced platform for tax transitions and direct indexing. So they, that's really kind of their goal, is to create these companies and then sell them off. The firm was founded by Dr. Vinay Nair, and they create new companies that apply data science, AI, and technology in their terms to address friction in asset and wealth management. So Tiffin has a number of companies, including Magnify, Tiffin Wealth, Tiffin Give, Tiffin AG, Tiffin Amp, Sage, Helix, and Tiffin at Work. Tiffin has been backed by some pretty big names, and they have raised significant funds at a high valuation. Their backers include JP Morgan, Morningstar, Hamilton Lane, Franklin Templeton, SEI, Motive Partners, and Broadridge. Now, a couple of their products that we interact with, either have reviewed or work with clients on, include Tiffin Wealth, which is their proposal generation platform, Magnify, which is a consumer-facing investment app that helps consumers or investors find, research, and buy investments. Tiffin Amp, which I happen to like what they're doing there, asset management, wholesaling, distribution, to help automate and provide AI for wholesaling when they're going out to advisors and trying to just get distribution for asset management products. You can hear about some of the other products, Sage and Helix. Sage is an AI-powered investment system that delivers a personalized CIO for every client. And Helix is an AI assistant for alternative and private markets. I spoke to the founder of Tiffin, Dr. Vinay Nair, on the podcast, episode 223. So you can look that up and hear. We talked specifically about Sage and Helix on that episode, so you can find out more about them. But back to Tiffin's prolific fundraising. They did a series A, B, and C round within 12 months, which I don't know if that's unprecedented, but I certainly haven't heard of it in our industry. Their C round raised $47 million at a $450 million valuation in October 2021. And then in May of 22, they raised the Series D round of $100 million and brought in Motive Partners, and Rob Havart joined the Tiffin board as part of that transaction. And their valuation in May 2022 was $842 million, which seems pretty high to me for a company that is sort of an incubator and doesn't have tremendous market share in any of their areas, but interesting products. I have to say that. So this is all future valuation, expecting this company to be able to take market share from existing players with their innovative AI tools. So back to Rob Petman leaving LPL for Tiffin. So Rob's got a proven track record of success and leadership in the industry with almost 20 years at LPL. He was executive VP for Wealth Management Solutions, where he was responsible for their wealth management platform, ClientWorks, including overseeing investment product distribution, advisory platforms, research, retirement plan business, and relationships with product and technology companies. So in his role as Chief Revenue Officer at Tiffin, he'll oversee revenue generation strategies, forge strategic partnerships, and drive the company's growth across all the Tiffin companies. So that's a wide purview across all these different platforms and products for Rob. He's just the guy to do it. And they really need. I mean, one thing we found, looking at from the outside as consultants and industry observers, that I found Tiffin's messaging was a little muddled. When I interviewed Vinay Nair on the podcast, I got a lot better understanding of their methodology and how they're sort of building this holding company, where it's not one like a normal wealth tech firm with a couple different products. It's really many different companies, targeting different aspects of the business, all under one roof, which is one way to do it. I've always said that we don't have enough innovation in our industry. So while all of these products most likely won't be successful, still you're innovating. You fail fast, as I used to say at another successful firm. Fail fast, and keep moving on to pivoting to new products till you find something that gets some traction. LPL has seen a number of changes as well, besides Rob Petman. Recently, Kabir Sethi, the managing director and chief product officer, left after only 2 years at LPL. And Heather Carter, their chief marketing officer, stepped down after also 19 years at the firm, replaced by Krista Carone. And Joanna Kanakis, who I happen to know, hi Joanna, recently joined LPL as senior VP and head of biz dev. And she came from a firm called Halo Investing, which is an innovative startup with structured notes. All right, so that's your wealth tech / broker dealer news for the day. You can go to lpl.com to find more information about LPL Financial, and you can go to tiffin.com, TIFIN.com, for more information about Tiffin. This section of the news is all about RIAs and different investments and people movements. So it's a new segment for the news here on the WealthTech Today podcast. And we brought back our special guest, Kristen Schmidt. Hey, Kristen.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, have the lakes thawed out in Wisconsin yet? You can't ice skate anymore, can you?
We're trying really hard to get to spring. We've been teased a lot, but hoping soon.
Hopefully soon you can open your door without being hit by a wall of snow.
Exactly.
That's usually June, right? June time.
Or July. Yes,
July.
please
Yep.
don't remind me.
Okay, just checking. Cool. All right, so here RIAs. What RIA are we talking about now? Carson Group. A lot of news about Carson Group. Number one, Burt White is Ron Carson stepping down as CEO. Dun da da da. Big news. The firm he founded and led, namesake firm, Ron Carson stepping down. Burt White, formerly of LPL, is now taking over as CEO of Carson Wealth. So we've got that news. Then also they made a couple of key hires. Danny Fava, our good friend, former investment executive, has announced she's taking over as Chief Strategy Officer at Carson Group, which was Burt White's previous role. And also Heather Randolph Carter is coming in to lead their marketing group. So that's a lot of news. Where do you want to start?
It is a lot of news. I think we have to start with just giving some accolades. Those are some really heavy hitters and some very strong, well-achieved people. So I think Carson Group has really excelled on choosing the right people for the right jobs, and I'm excited to see where they take it. I think also those hires support Carson Group's approach to not only working with RIAs, but supporting them. So for example, if you look at the Carson Group website and you go onto it, not only is it well built and well explained, but when you go to navigate it, it has 3 sections: run your business, grow your business, love your business. And I think that's a really great way to say it. They are really talking about how do you run your business through their proprietary tech stack that they have built with a number of industry level vendors. They've customized it. When you're growing your business, it talks about their sales pipeline and all the things they do in marketing and sales. And then loving your business, obviously, is all about their consulting arm to their business, where they support RIAs. So in that light, you need somebody to run the business. And congratulations to Mr. Carson for finally being able to pass the baton in all he's built. But then you also are, growing it through marketing and through their hire. And then, lastly, you're loving it in a sense of needing all of that strategy. And I think those are all really key pieces to the puzzle that they're building.
There is a lot going on there. It's very difficult for the founder of a company to step away. So that's a big move. And, then to make all these other changes as well is also difficult. So this is a point of transition for Carson Group, but you're right. They really need to keep moving and keep growing in different ways, because my favorite saying is what got you here won't get you there. So the way their sales pipeline, I'm sure was Ron might have had a lot to do with it. His personality, his him being there had a lot to do with how well they would grow their business. So now he's got to hand that baton off to Burt and their team, and they need strategy and they need to improve marketing. So they're doing that as well.
Agreed. I do think you're absolutely right. It's a pivotal time and there will be a lot of change, but at the same time, I do believe that they've built the foundation. And if we look back at other companies that are doing this or have tried to do it, one that comes to mind is United Capital. Certainly not carbon copies of each other by any means, but the idea of having an enterprise solution covering technology, compliance, oversight, growth, and marketing efforts for advisors as well as consulting. I think that's, somewhat of the same footprint that United Capital was trying to do, and they're still trying to do, but never really coveted that foundation. So Carson Group has done a great job with their tech stack and being successful in offering tech to their advisors. Um, you know, these firms walk in with a mantra for their advisors and RIAs saying, we just want you to meet with your clients. Just worry about your clients and we'll help you worry about the rest, right? And so I think that there's pieces of different companies that have tried to do what Carson is doing. They have not been successful because that foundation or that concrete hasn't been built yet. The standard tech stack and streamlining the best practices surrounding that tech stack, right? You can't just throw technology at advisors and hope that they join you for the ride. You actually need to drive the best practice of how things are done while also giving advisor choice. That's probably the hardest piece about all of this news is what changes and also what choice is still available to these advisors. But they've certainly lended to be very successful thus far.
Now, hold on a second here, Kristen. What do you mean you can't just throw technology at advisors and expect them to use it? What? I thought that's how it works. You just give them stuff
I
and they use it.
know.
What?
We should retire now. Why do we even have jobs? Nobody needs help
Yeah,
with that
that's
stuff,
great.
right?
Yep, you're right. See ya. We're all
Yeah.
on it. Thank you
Awesome.
and good night.
No, it is interesting though. You and I, work in the same space and in our own spaces. And I think that there's so much to be said about just because you can doesn't mean you should, right?
That,
And
for everyone listening, is a Kristenism.
yeah. But that's the hardest part is, well, why not? And what if? And yeah, but, or yes, and all around your tech stack. So I think that there is the idea, let's shift it a little. Why are advisors and larger businesses so enticed to join the Carson Group ecosystem and business model? And I think the idea is it takes a lot of thinking off the table for you, right? And it's a good fit if everything's in place. So I think that there's a lot to be done. Like you said, there's a lot of pieces moving at the same time in regards to management, and vision always changes when strategy comes into larger corporations like this. But I will say, I think we've all known for a long time that Ron had been passing the baton slowly but surely. So I do believe that they've done a great job of true succession planning with this. He had been slowly stepping away from the business, and he was very transparent about that, even on social media, as he's been doing his nonprofit efforts and all his hiking and his wellness. He brought us all along on the ride for that through social media and through his videos and through sharing and encouraging people to do it. So I do think that if anybody gets any advisor gets anything out of this, right? He knows how to succession plan. I think he's doing a great job of that in a sense of the business and the clients and the advisors and planners.
Ron Carson started this business in 1983, selling insurance out of his college dorm room.
Yeah.
Grew the business into 35 billion in assets with 150 advisor network partners. Quite an accomplishment.
It really is. And I think what we all understand, having been in this industry, is that's a lot of relationships. It takes a lot of relationships and a lot of time and effort. It's not just about sealing the deal with vendors, partnerships, or clients or firms. So yeah, he's a real icon in the industry for sure. And there's never a right time for any of this change to go on, but he certainly has a very strong business model as he does pass the baton.
Although they did lose, they were doing good succession planning. They have a great team of executives there, a great bench of executives, including Carson Group President Terry Shepard. They also had someone very well known in the industry, Jamie Hopkins, who was head of Carson Wealth, who left.
That's true.
So that may have been part of this whole thing where maybe he was gunning for the CEO role and didn't get it, and then say, "Hey, I'm going to go be CEO somewhere," and now he's the CEO. right?
It's a very good point. I also think that we sometimes forget our bubble in this industry is so small. It's a wonderful industry, but it really is small in a sense of all of these mergers that we're seeing, all of these buyouts that we're seeing, and vendors that are becoming more than just one thing. So you're absolutely right. We're seeing kind of the same names and the same hierarchies bouncing around a bit, but for good reason. I will say on the Danny front, I have to, send cheers to her and her accomplishments. But I think that anyone like Danny, which there's not many people because she is just an amazing human as well as professional in the industry. This is what we do. We like to jump in and not necessarily fix, but enhance, envision differently, think about it differently. So her becoming strategy might really bring new life on that side of things of what else is there for Carson or where do they want to focus. And I think if you're shaking the tree, you might as well just let it all fall in a sense of bringing on the change.
Super excited for Danny on this new role. I mean, she was a head of strategy at Envestnet, so she's had the strategy role. I've known her for over 15 years, back when she was just a product manager
Yeah.
at Fiserv APL, and then grew and went to TD Ameritrade and moved up the food chain there and showed what she could do and really got to spread her wings and show that she is a force to be reckoned with in the industry. And Envestnet realized that and snatched her up. That was good, smart of them, and now smart of Carson. So she's moving from the vendor side, where she's been for a long time, to the client side. So it's a whole different thought process.
It is, and I think it'll be great for Carson to have her perspective on things. Absolutely. Although I will also say, I think she's getting the best of both worlds in this position as she enters it, because although Carson themselves is utilizing a lot of third-party vendor partnerships in their tech stack, there is a lot of proprietary work that they've done within their Salesforce platform and other platforms that they use that is specific to just them. So I think her product focus, while also shifting to being more RA focused, is going to really bring in two different perspectives from her part.
And supported by Bain Capital, which took a minority stake in Carson Group in 2021. They embarked on an intentional inorganic strategy in 22. So they're acquiring minority stakes in other advisor teams. And this kind of growth is something that Burt White has seen at LPL, because they were growing, and they're still snapping up firms quickly. So
yeah.
Well, I expect we'll see continued growth, maybe to 70, 100 billion.
I was going to say, I guess, let me throw the question back at you. Where do you think they're going, and who do you think their competition is right now?
Well, they're going onwards and upwards.
Of course.
So there's a lot of these companies that are doing very similar things. Mariner, Wealth, Focus Financial, are firms that are in the same ballpark. They're still bigger, but they're still doing similar things. They're building on networks. They're building out platforms for advisors to tuck in their firms and take advantage of their scale, their processes, their internal infrastructure that they can then just outsource to them. They operate in a very similar fashion to how an IBD operates. There's just different regulator, but
with the perks of an RA.
same.
I agree with you on that side, except I do think that Carson has the edge with their technology, their tech stack, their best practices. A lot of that is already built out, where, for example, a Focus Financial has more of that minority stake interest and does not have a platform built out yet. They have partnerships and technology partnerships, but Carson definitely is a step ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Hightower is in there. They're doing the same thing. Creative Planning is doing the same thing. Wealth Enhancement Advisory Services, Cap Trust, Private Advisor Group, Mercer Advisors. They've got just slightly different takes on this business model and tweaking it in different ways to appeal to different types of advisor teams. But they're all out there. They've all got money, and they're all making acquisitions.
They are. You're absolutely right. Hightower is a good one to mention. Mercer is a good one to mention. I think there's also that dimension of which companies like this are offering consultant help, right? It's one thing to offer back office services. It's another to help a firm grow their business. And all those avenues of how to grow, how to sustain, how to be more efficient. And so I think there's also a huge piece of that when you have your, Carson coaches and your Carson consultants that are really an added piece that a lot of those other companies you mentioned are just embarking on.
And for anyone listening who wants to learn more about Carson Group, go to carsongroup.com. Hey, thanks a lot, Kristen.
Of course, anytime.
Next up, the 5th annual Broadridge Advisor Survey reveals time and expertise are the top challenges in advisor marketing strategies. As macroeconomic volatility has led to an influx of investors seeking financial advice, advisors are increasingly looking to next-gen technology, such as generative AI, to address their marketing challenges and meet increased personalization expectations, according to fintech leader Broadridge Financial Solutions and their annual Financial Advisor Marketing Survey. Just want to touch on a couple of points I found in this report that I thought were interesting. This is their 5th year of doing the survey, so this is when things start to get interesting. I prefer seeing trends over time versus just snapshots. So I like that they're up to their 5th year, and advisors are there. According to their survey, advisors are still struggling with marketing efforts, even with all the tools and technologies and options on the market. To this end, next week on the podcast, you'll hear an interview that I do with Kevin Darlington, who is the head of Broadridge Advisor Solutions, and I get his take on industry and the how crowded the digital marketing space is and how Broadridge is addressing that. But I want to talk a little bit more about what the findings were in this survey. And you can go to broadridge.com and you can find the survey. I will also put a link in the show notes on the Ezra Group, rather wealthtechtoday.com in this post. So let's see, 68% of advisors who communicate at least quarterly with their clients are confident in meeting their goals of growth, compared to 51% who communicate with clients less annually or less frequently. Similarly, U.S. advisors who are personalizing their content marketing are more confident in reaching their practice goals and have almost double the rate of being very confident in reaching their goals, 30% to 18%. Now, getting back to personalizing content, those advisors who do personalize content are more likely to convert social media leads to clients. They're more likely to use generative AI. They spend more time on marketing efforts, which isn't good. I mean, but they do get more benefit. It's only 2 hours to 2.5 hours. So it's an extra half hour a week, according to Broadridge. Just an extra half hour a week is all you need to do to generate more leads and have more conversions in your marketing. But you also need to have a defined marketing strategy. You can't just be very fuzzy about it. And that triples the performance of companies having a defined marketing strategy. Some of the top reasons that U.S. advisors don't share educational content with clients includes they're not sure how best to go about it. They don't find enough time. They think clients aren't interested, and they're running into compliance issues. That really shouldn't stop you. You really need to get educational content out to clients. It's one of the best ways to drive traffic to your website. Now, overcoming these challenges, the surveys found that over half of advisors are currently using or plan to use generative AI in their digital marketing strategies. Oh, scratch that. That's Canadian versus US. 56% of Canadian advisors plan to use generative AI in the digital marketing strategies, compared to only 43% of US advisors. So again, very interesting survey. You can go to broadridge.com and just do a Google search for the, I apologize, I don't have the link in front of me. The 5th annual Broadridge Advisor Marketing Survey. I'm sure you'll find it in any web search that you do. Moving on, we're moving from advisor marketing into financial wellness. New Retirement, wealth tech firm New Retirement raises $20 million. New Retirement is an interesting company. They focus mainly on financial wellness and, of course, retirement, financial planning. But they've got a couple different options. They've got a direct-to-consumer version, and they also are selling to large corporations for their employees as well as retirement plan participants. It's a very slick platform. I've gotten a couple demos of it, and if they boast 70,000 active users with a combined 100 billion of assets. That includes 23,000 paying subscribers who pay $10 a month. And that doesn't include all of their corporate clients on different retirement plans or other wellness activities. So it's a company that's taking a different, slightly different tack on things, where they're not just building financial planning tools for advisors, but focusing more on what we would consider light financial planning for directly to investors and to retirement plan participants. Now, they cover things like the normal things you think of in a financial plan, like taxes, income, real estate, debt, goals, budget, medical, and other factors. And I like the interface. I think it's pretty slick and well designed. They do what if scenarios, real-time monitoring. They've got coaching, visualization, and insights, and what they call 360-degree financial planning. They have this round of funding was led by Allegiance Capital, and other investors in New Retirement include Nationwide Ventures, Northwestern Mutual, Plug and Play Ventures, and Motley Fool Ventures. Now, in 2021, Nationwide started using New Retirement to power a financial and retirement planning program on its record-keeping platform to its more than 2 million participants. So that's a big deal. Not easy to get those type of deals. So kudos to New Retirement, and this $20 million, I'm sure, will help them in their goal of expanding their delivery of these wellness platform to other firms. Now, there's a couple. There are some advisors who are using them as well. So, for example, according to the article on RIA Biz, a San Diego financial advisor managing $6 billion called Pure Financial Advisors is using New Retirement to give a deeper financial planning experience to their prospects. So they're using it as a prospecting tool and part of the marketing campaigns. So another way to use it, and they're not replacing existing planning software. So they're running in parallel, really using it for a different purpose. So another way to approach this category of financial planning is how New Retirement is doing it. Another aspect that I found interesting is that New Retirement is partnering with AdvicePay, which is fee-for-service billing software founded by my good friend Michael Keatsis and Alan Moore, and they use AdvicePay for their billing because they can handle credit card billing and fee-for-service one-time billing for things like financial plans. So AdvicePay is also really taking off in the industry. Now, so overall, New Retirement, you can find them at newretirement, just like it's spelled, .com. And now we come to my favorite part of the news. It's the Advisor Tech Map and the integration scores. All right, so I'm going to go through quickly the new applications that are being added to, or were added to the Advisor Tech Map in April. And we have 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. So this is growing fast. We're getting a lot of applications here. I think we're almost at 500. I think I'll double check that. All right. So the applications that were added in this month's Advisor Tech Map, which, by the way, you can find on keatsis.com/fintech. I always forget the exact director. It's FinTech Map. www.keatsis.com/fintech map. Michael and I partner on that, and we have our meetings every month and review all the new applications that are coming in. Now, not every application gets to be on the map because sometimes these applications aren't really applications. They're TAMPs or they're service offerings that happen to have technology. So the map is only for software. So if you are a company selling software and that's how you make money. And the software can be paid for. It's not free software that comes along with the service. Then most likely you'll be able to get onto the map. Otherwise, you probably will not be on the map. So the first application is called leadcenter.ai. Another tool using .ai in their name, which I don't really think is a great idea, but okay, leadcenter.ai, at least it's easy to spell. AI-powered sales and marketing automation for financial advisors, moving into the ever-crowded category of digital marketing. So that is leadcenter.ai, the digital marketing category. Next up is Comparison Advisor, which goes into the also crowded category of lead gen, advisor lead gen. It's Comparison Advisor, ER at the end.com. Reach your goals with the right financial advisor. So it looks at their marketing directly to consumers to get them to go to the website and figure out which financial advisor is right for you, hand that over to an advisor, take some sort of fee for that lead. Next, number 3 is Concurrence. I'm sorry, spelling on Currence. Boy, if your name is that, I can't, where it's just the human eye just hits it, and Currence, Currence. Cash flow automation and sequencing. So make your money work for you, manage and direct spending, accumulate savings, and invest in the future, all from one platform. Currence reroutes how you spend and save to create a more connected and efficient cash flow system. We've seen a couple of these products come out where they're I want to call them mind mapping tools. You remember how those mind mapping tools work, where you can kind of drag and drop things and it links them together on the screen. These kind of work like that. So I thought they'd be really cool to use, but I found them difficult. And, I think I've got a bit of a head start on some people when it comes to using software, but it was difficult for me. I found it was difficult for me to use them. So I think they really need to, well, it's a great idea. I think they need some work on their interfaces if they're going to have advisors use them, who may not be as technical as some others might be. So these applications are going under specialized planning, under a new category called cash flow automation. So we used to just have cash management, and now we broke that out. Broke a rule, by the way. The rule Michael and I agreed to. We need 3 applications for a new category, but we did cash flow automation as a subset of specialized planning, and there are only 2. One is Currence, another one is Sequence. So they're another application that helps investors move money between different accounts automatically, paying bills, moving things to interest accounts and out of interest accounts. So could be useful if their interface was just a little better. Currence, I'm sorry, the website is Live Currence. Live Currence, LIVECURRENCE.com. Or you can go to the Kitsis Ezra Group map and find the cash flow automation section. Just click on the logo for Currence. It'll take you to their website. Let me just close this up here. Okay. Next is WealthFeed. WealthFeed, just as it's spelled, .com. They are a prospecting tool. So they've got a couple of co-founders from the advisory space. So it's interesting, one of those built for advisors by advisors. They believe they can help advisors grow their book of business, increase client retention, and grow wallet share with their AI-powered Money in Motion platform. We've also seen a splurge in AI-powered prospecting tools, which is why we broke out the prospecting category under business development, which you'll see now has 2, 4, 6, 8 products in there, including the new WealthFeed. There's also another firm that does very similar services called WealthHawk, also AI, money and movement. And I think AI Identified also does something similar. Man, if I have some money and movement, these poor investors are going to get flooded with AI-powered emails and text messages and social media. Hey, we just heard you you sold your business, you just took a stock options, or you got an inheritance. Our AI powered platform identified you, and now we're going to flood you with messages. But maybe it'll work. Maybe we'll figure out a better way to do it. But there are a lot of these AI tools in the prospecting category. All right. Wealth.com goes in the specialized planning. They are an estate planning tool. So specialized planning estate, Wealth.com has been getting a lot of traction lately. And I know they've added some board members, some high-powered board members, including Jamie Hopkins, formerly of Carson Group, and also Brian Hamburger of Hamburger Law and Market Counsel. So those are some important people they got added to their board, which I think is pretty important. It's important to have these kind of industry people on your board, not only for direction, but for networking, plugging into different firms, maybe finding different partners. Also, I apologize, I didn't mention that Jamie Hopkins is now head of private wealth management at Bryn Mawr Trust. So that is what he's doing. So wealth.com, you can check him out at wealth.com. Great name. They are an estate planning solution, the only digital estate planning platform finalist at the wealthmanagement.com 2023 Industry Awards. Next is Osite. I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. It's spelled crazy, Osyte. And they are a portfolio management platform because, of course, we need more portfolio management platforms in our space. We just don't have enough of them. I think I wrote an article now 6 years ago, called 50 Portfolio Management Systems Can't All Survive. Can Osite survive? Their pitch is they are a true multi-asset portfolio management platform that can help you grow your assets without hiring more people and be able to rebalance and trade both liquid and illiquid and private assets on one platform. So you can check them out at Osite, OSYTE.com. Next is Reflect, which is Reflect. Their website is Reflect Values, just like the word reflect, and values.com. And they are investment data analytics. Another very busy, very crowded category with 35 or more products. We seem to be getting a new one every month. I also don't understand how this is going to differentiate and how they're going to manage to get traction, but check them out at reflectvalues.com. Advisory, due diligence, compliance, portfolio management, auditing. They are a comprehensive values-based investing tool. Investor-first methodology, customizable values discovery, useful actionable insights, and a recommendation engine. So maybe it's a little bit different way of skinning this cat here. Reflectvalues.com. And then almost done. Okay, next to last, Leaf Planner is a client portal. They've established themselves at the intersection of wealth tech, professional services tech, and family enterprise management to enable families of wealth and the professional services firms that serve them to be better educated, engaged, empowered, and prepared. Leafplanner.com. Looks like it's mainly a family office product. Leverage family office perspective to optimize your impact. Family education, determining spheres of influence, building and maintaining trust. I know most of the family offices we work with already have some sort of portal already that has things like bill pay built in. They have hierarchies. They have family trees, so you can see all the family and how they interact. But certainly there's room for another one of these applications. We don't really have a lot in that space. It does look like an interesting tool. So they are in the client portal category. And finally, the last application, Advisor's Assistant, is a CRM. Now, we haven't seen a CRM pop up in quite a while. We do, of course, have a bunch of them. in the category, but we don't really get a lot of new CRM. So I'm interested. Advisors Assistant at advisorsassistant.com. It'd be very difficult to get traction. The CRM is one of the hardest products to replace, just because of the training. The data movement is usually relatively straightforward. We do a lot of CRM conversions annually, but it's more the training, and because most CRMs have workflow built in, pipelines, service monitors, and they have their tentacles across a lot of the business. So unwrapping that is very difficult. So, but we always want more choice. Choice is good for advisors. So Advisor Assistant looks like they've been around since 1985, and they even have an office in Australia. They're based in San Diego. So check them out at advisorsassistant.com. All these applications will, once they hit the Keats's Ezra Group map, they will get scored with integration scores, and you'll be able to see them on ezragroup.com on our integration scores page. A couple more changes to the map before I go. So we removed, they were always adjusting, Michael and I always talking about the map, how to make it more useful and make it more clear. Now we organized, if you look at the map from last year versus this year, you can see it's very different. We reorganize it into the 5 categories of financial planning, investment management, client engagement, business development, and operations. Whereas before it wasn't organized that way, which I think is definitely nicer to look at with the color coding, but also easier to find stuff because it's organized that way, rather than it was sort of random in the map for the last 6 years or 7 years. So we're always looking to make it more user friendly and more helpful. And one thing we had discussion on last month for the April map was the difference between forms management, document management, and workflow support and digital onboarding. Because those categories tend to overlap and applications straddle them a lot. For example, DocuPace started out as document management, but they've been around so long, they quickly expanded into workflow. They've got a very big workflow, a very powerful workflow engine. But they also do onboarding. They have a very powerful onboarding tool, multi-account, multimodal, multi-custodial onboarding tool. So where do we put them? It's difficult. So right now they're in document management, and we created a separate forms only category. So forms used to be a separate category. Now that's a subset of document management. So that was a change in the April map. We moved Conga into document management. We left Quick in forms only. We removed iPipeline because they're really an enterprise platform. You should check them out at ipipeline.com, especially if you have insurance needs. They don't really sell to independent advisors, and the map that Michael and I work on is really targeting independent advisors. We moved Agreements Express from forms management into digital onboarding, and they were recently acquired by Advisor 360. We moved Skyence from CRM overlays into digital onboarding, since that's really one of the primary functions of their platform. And we added DocuPace to document management, and we kept it in workflow support because you can buy those two as separate products. So you can buy DocuPace's workflow engine separately from their document management platform as well. So those are really the changes in the map. Moving on to the investment integration score, I want to talk about a new something we press released in January, which is the WealthTech Integration Score Recognition Program. So if you are a vendor in the advisor space and you have an integration score of at least a 6, that means you are able to join our recognition program. And what the recognition program allows you to do is use one of our badges, either a badge excellent, which is a 6 to 8 score, or 6 to 7.9. If you have a score of 8 or above, you can use the superior badge, and you can use that badge in your marketing, emails, a website, any of your marketing collateral. You can put this badge, a stamp of approval from Ezra Group, that we have reviewed your integrations and found them worthy and good. You also get access to some content that is not available to anyone else if in the program. We're doing quarterly research calls where we're going to give them we're going to provide some of our research trends around integrations and technology. You get some free consulting to help get Ezra Group advice from our integration team on how to improve your integrations, which could include, basically any aspect of beefing up your integrations or recommendations of who we think you should integrate with, as well as some other benefits that are not available yet, but are coming down the road around our website. We're going to be building out some capabilities there. So please go to our website, ezragroup.com, and you can use the contact us form, or you can email integrations@ezragroupllc.com or consulting@ezragroupllc.com, and we'll ask about the recognition program, and we will get you hooked up. All right, you've made it to the end of another episode of the WealthTech Today podcast. Please go to our website, ezragroup.com. Scroll to the bottom of the homepage and sign up for our newsletter. Once a month, you'll receive an email chock full of wealth management goodness, news, information, updates. You will not be disappointed. Thanks again for listening, and talk to you all again next time.